Hello, horror movie fans. Oh, that was weird.
Did it again.
Welcome to Death by Podcast, the ultimate horror movie podcast, where we go through the alphabet, pick up a movie for every letter, talk about it. As long as it's on VHS, we're good. I'm your host, Adam. That's your other host,
Kevin.
And today, episode 52. It's crazy. We're just trucking on down the Tony Danza Road. What did we do? What was 52? Oh, Silver Bullet. I had the letter S.
Mm-hmm.
Silver Bullet. So we're going to get into that a little later. We got some stuff to talk about before we get there. Kevin, I had something I was going to tell you. Oh, the Plastic Bag Man struck again. Remember the supervillain I told you a few weeks back?
Yeah.
So the cops just keep coming like way too late and missing this guy. But this time it was our friend who runs the comic book store down the street. He messaged me and was like, yo, remember that dude? And I was like, yeah. He's like, he was in here and he was like, he went into the store and he fucked around and did some stuff. You remember the last time he was in the store, he was like reading comics, and our friend Jake, who manages the place, was like, yo man, sorry, but you can't read the comics. You got to buy them or not. And he's like, I'm not reading them. I'm just looking at it with my eyes. And it's like, okay, cool. Get out.
Yeah.
And then after that, he punched that woman in the face and like kind of came after me. It was weird. So anyway, he was back in the comic book store this week, and then he went next door and harassed them. So something's going to go down. It's going to be bad.
Isn't a hair salon next door? Or
there's a hair salon. There's a wine shop. I don't know which next door he went to.
Jersey Mike's. There's
So who knows? It's weird. You don't get that stuff out in the suburbs, do you?
Oh, weirdos? We got plenty of weirdos in the suburbs. Yeah. It's the suburbs.
Just like hanging around?
Yeah, they just keep it themselves, and nobody. Yeah, that's kind of the code of the suburbs is mind your own business and stay off my lawn. Don't fuck with me. I won't fuck with you. That's
are they like homeless weirdos, or are they?
No, we don't have any. Not in my suburb.
Yeah. They're just like townies.
Yeah, we get some townie weirdos for sure. I mean, I probably was one for a while.
Oh, geez.
I'm
glad you're not anymore.
Getting day drunk.
That's such a weird
in
term.
A bar with no windows.
Yeah. I can't do that.
My local hangout had no windows.
It's so strange. Why do people do why do they make them like that? Well,
this particular bar, like you go downstairs and it's kind of underground, but other ones, I know in Vegas, like they do it so that if you see the sun's coming up, you're gonna be like, shit, I gotta go. But if they black out the windows, you don't have to worry about that.
So bizarre. I've never been a bar guy. Especially ones without windows.
Oh, we got that bar guy.
We got that one just down the street on Clark and whatever, where it used to be Jeffrey Dahmer's hangout. You ever been to that one? I
think so. I think I went there and hung out with it's like a real small bar.
Yeah, if you go, I think it's called the L&L, maybe something like that.
Maybe not. I don't know.
If you Google creepiest bar in the country, I think that one comes up at the top.
Really? This probably wasn't the one I went to.
Very strange. What else? What do we got? So speaking of Jeffrey Dahmer, let's I don't want to segue from Jeffrey Dahmer to what I was about to say. You said you got a zombie watch. I was thinking about calling this segment Romby. Is that cool? Like Rob Zombie Connect.
Sure, you can call it whatever you want, but it's Rob. It's just an update on Rob Zombie's Instagram account.
What do you got?
He's been promoting the tour he's on mostly, but there's been some casting news from the Munsters, which is kind of funny. Like he's also been like announcing like rapping on actors. Like an actor will be like, okay, well, we rapped with this guy, which means he probably wasn't in the movie that much, but they're still announcing cast members. You might like this. And they haven't said who she's playing. Pat Priest, she was on the original series as she was the second Marilyn. She was Marilyn between episodes 14 through 70.
Okay.
For the majority of the series.
All right.
But she's going to be in the movie.
Interesting. She's got to be 103 years old
I don't know.
at this point. I don't know.
But but they haven't said, I don't think they've cast Marilyn.
Okay.
And they haven't cast Eddie.
Marilyn Eddie. It's big secrets. Rob. Don't mess with us, man. He's already on thin ice. So if anybody out there listening is friends with Rob Zombie, just tell him to watch it. Be careful.
I'm pumped. I think it's gonna be good.
I know you do. I'm very worried. You sent me a very nice, was it a picture, Instagram post wishing me a happy Star Wars Day today. So happy Star Wars Day to you. And it was of Grandpa Munster farting with a blue lightsaber. It was pretty awesome. What was the caption?
I don't remember. I think it's may the farts be with you.
May the farts be with you. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, the May 4th thing.
You don't like it?
It's not that I don't like it. It just, I remember like the very first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that's kind of clever. And then like, it's been year after year after year of just like,
I mean, I used to get excited for it because they would actually release, you could go into the store and get like Star Wars merchandise on today. It's Star Wars Day.
Yeah.
And now this is where it's gotten to. Now they release pictures of what you can pre-order tomorrow, the day after Star Wars Day. You can't even like get them on the day. You can't even pre-order them on the day. You only get to see pictures of what you could pre-order the day after. It's so dumb.
Cool, man. Sounds
so dumb.
It's pretty much on par with like
Valentine's Day.
Not just like Disney Star Wars, just kind of taking the tea. Like just the Darth Vader doing the Macarena and stuff. Like it's just like that
stuff is dumb.
Yeah, it's
I think I might have mentioned like how I finally, what you called it, like the prequel syndrome, where you go in, we all went in, and we were like, oh, that was great, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I finally realized that I was doing that with Boba Fett and with Book of Boba Fett. And there were definitely some cool scenes in that, but that show sucks.
Yeah.
And it's just bad. But they dropped another Kenobi trailer today. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
I didn't. No. I'm gonna watch Kenobi, so I'm not watching any trailer.
Okay,
I almost didn't watch the first one.
All right, then I won't tell you, but there's a character that you won't guess, but there's a character
You sent me a text.
Oh, I did send it to you.
Of the picture. Yeah.
Oh, I did. Okay. All right.
Is it
4-LOM.
definitely 4-LOM or is it just,
if it's not, I mean, it's definitely like the model of droid or whatever. We don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Really
is it
4-LOM.
another IG-88 situation? Like,
I hope it's not. I hope it's actually 4-LOM and the era would fit. So it looked awesome and I'm excited for it. I think Kenobi will be a solid show.
I think so too. And it's only 6 episodes and
there was a lot of Uncle Owen in this trailer, man.
Good.
Woo! Down with the Owen. Anyway, I went out and I got some there's a new Obi-Wan comic came out today, #1. So I picked that up. Picked up a hover tank pilot Black Series that I didn't have. So I like that. I like that design. It's neat. It is neat. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Star Wars. What'd you watch? Anything?
What's funny? I've been watching a lot of TV. I went from having like not too much to watch and being able to catch up to all like 4 shows I like all started up at once. And then there's been a lot. I watch a lot of stand up. So there's been a bunch of stand up specials that have started up. So I've just been watching a lot of those. Ozark started back up and watching that, watching Barry, watching Better Call Saul, all the good shows. And
speaking of stand up, for our Patreon podcast, we just did another episode of Tales from the Crypt with Sam Kinison in it.
Yeah,
he's one of your stand up guys.
I like Sam Kinison.
Kinison. Yeah, I know Ozark started because my neighbor is watching it, and I've never watched it. Is it good?
It's very good. It's really good. It's Patrick Bateman dealing with crazy women. That's Patrick what it is. Bateman? Whether it's Patrick Bateman, not Patrick Bateman, Jason Bateman. Patrick Bateman is a serial killer from American Psycho.
Yeah.
No, Jason Bateman just dealing with crazy women, whether it's his neighbor or whether it's his wife or his daughter or the girly. It's just him. Like it's him being a very practical money laundering guy for a Mexican cartel, and
really?
being like, yeah, that's what he launders money for the cartel. That's like his job. And then like him being like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it, and I'm gonna pay this money, and then we're gonna get out. And then some woman comes in and throws a wrench in his plans.
Okay.
Every single episode.
Does it have
it's nuts.
Does it have Breaking Bad vibes to it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Because
I need to be in a mood for that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's good. It's just it's very good. I'm not as into it as everybody else that watches it, because it just seems so. There's a lot of stuff that's like, come on, like
coincidental, like too coincidental.
Not even coincidental. Yeah, like characters do things that are like clearly not the. You know what I mean? It like because they need things to happen on the show. Sure. So you know, and it's just. I mean, it's not a bad show. It's very. You know, it is edge your seat stuff. Like,
how many seasons now? What is this?
4. This is the second part of season 4. So,
okay.
Which, you know, then they drop them all at once. So,
Netflix.
Yeah, it hasn't been spoiled for me, but yeah, but Better Call Saul has been weekly, and
that's another one I haven't seen, and then
that's great. The first couple episodes suck.
Yeah,
like flat out are not good. But if you can get it past I think the second or third, it's all uphill from there. And then
you mentioned Barry. My mom asked me about Barry, and I was
Barry's
like,
awesome.
I haven't seen it. All I know is the Fonz is in it.
Barry's awesome, and the episodes are super short. So like I recommended my brother-in-law, and he knocked it out in like a weekend. Like not even like you could do both seasons. It's like 10 episode seasons. They're half an hour apiece. Yeah, I mean it's nothing. And the show is really, really, really good.
Is Winkler prominent?
Yeah, he's the number 2 on the show.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that I might watch.
It's very good, man. And it's a really cool, like it's really funny, but also it's a lot like kind of like the movie we're going to talk about this week is like it's really violent, but when it's violent, it's like it's violent, man. Like it's like they don't shy away. Like he's a professional killer on the show.
Okay.
And they don't shy away from like when he breaks someone's neck. It's not like he runs in and breaks it or not. He like it's raw. It's like holy shit, dude. Like, okay. and it's cool. Like my brother-in-law does jujitsu, and he was like watching it. And he's like, you never see anybody do it right. And like when they do it on that show, he's like, he actually like broke the guy's neck how you would really break someone's neck. Yikes, and he was like, and it's like it's the violence is like geez, like it makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, you know, because it's like. It's not over the top. It's just violent.
Good story though.
It's and it's hilarious.
Okay.
Like it balances it so well. Like it's not jarring. It's just like it's either really funny or like holy shit. Like it's very, very good. And Stephen Root's in it.
Oh
yeah, Milton.
Is he better than he was in Boba Fett?
Stephen Root was in Boba Fett.
Yeah, remember he was the waterman.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah. Everybody is better than.
Shit, cool man. I'm actually I might check out of all 3 of those. Barry would be
Barry rocks. That's Barry. I would recommend. Okay. I mean, Better Call Saul is great, but it's a slow burn.
All right, real quick while I'm talking, I'm realizing I'm actually talking. I want to thank the folks who listened during my COVID voice, all that stuff that was going on. I'm still coming out of that. But I'm realizing I'm feeling and sounding a little bit better. Anything else? What else you watch? Anything else?
No, just a lot of stand up. Nothing crazy.
Real quick attack. What I've been watching a lot of is Pluto has, the Star Trek channel on Pluto.
Yeah.
So I've had, and it's all just next gen. So yeah, I've had like all kinds. I saw the one where Dwarf gets a new spine from a doctor who's very experimental. And
the one where he wants Riker to kill him.
I don't know. Like the Crusher's all mad at this doctor because she's all like irresponsible. And there's a miniature dwarf who, I guess
that's Worf's son.
I couldn't tell if it was a son or daughter. Yeah. So they're in there, and I saw that one. I saw there was another one that was like Picard centric, and him and Data were like arguing. I don't know. It was weird. And I saw the one. Oh, this was a good one where not the Crusher, but the guy who crushes
Riker.
He had a clean, no beard, which was
season
weird.
Season one.
Okay. He's in a holographic bar on the ship talking to a hot chick.
Yeah.
And Picard's in there, and it's this really weird three-way thing going on. Meanwhile, the entire ship's been evacuated because there's like a threat of some kind. And then all of a sudden the hologram stops and they realize, like, it was so funny because they realized, like, oh, the two of us have been hitting on this holographic chick while the whole ship's being evacuated. I was just like, you dipshits.
I don't remember that. I mean, I remember he's got lots of holographic women.
Okay. Can he touch them, or are they just holograms?
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
So, wow, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Safe.
The holograms are just a series of projections and force fields is how they explain it.
Like almost like a hard light projection kind of deal.
Yeah, like they're just
weird.
But
I don't know what that means. I just said it. But so yeah, I've been watching that Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, or Return. It was the second one, Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
The one with George Clooney?
Yes.
That's Return.
Okay, so that was on, and you know who's in it? Father Luke.
He is. Yeah.
He's like the main character, basically.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that on his IMDb.
We were talking about last week with Repossessed, like, what has he been in? He's in that. I didn't watch the whole movie, but you sound like you're a fan. Are you a fan?
I was when I was a kid.
Okay.
I used to like the cartoon, and I saw the movie a couple times.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it since I was young.
It's pretty funny. I've seen that one a couple times. It's got like the original Addams Family dad is the mad scientist.
God damn it! What's his fucking name?
John Buggy Eyes.
Ashby.
Okay.
No,
he's a wacky looking guy. So funny.
Yeah.
What else I watch? Okay, so what I actually really watched that I wanted to bring up, two things. One called, I watched Psycho Goreman.
Oh, you did. I'm so curious on what you thought. I mean,
so you've seen it. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it.
That movie was dog shit. That movie was dog shit. They could have, I see what they were trying to do. First of all, like the little girl is a perfect example of where that movie went wrong. She was really funny the first couple times you see her with her like adult speaking weirdness and her just overly sarcastic psychosis. But it went on through the whole movie and it got really tired really fast. And that kind of ruined it for me. And then what the movie is actually about is like Doctor Who characters, like Doctor Who aliens is what it felt like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You ever watch Doctor Who, like new Doctor Who?
I tried. I got about 4 or 5 episodes into the Eccleston series, and I couldn't do it.
I like it, but it's too much is bad. And you know, the creatures, like they went overboard on the gore, but the effects and the costumes were just very creepy in a bad way, like Doctor Who bad way, you know?
Yeah. I wasn't into it when I was watching it, but I like appreciated a lot of things about it.
Sure.
That I thought you might appreciate so much that you enjoyed the movie. You know,
I thought I would too at the beginning, and
because it's a lot of practical effects.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like it's kind of a stand up to movies, you know, from the like early 80s, and you know
it does. And that's the problem, is that I don't know, it's like practical effects to a fault almost. Like I don't want, like, you know, in like the new Star Wars and stuff, they'll have a practical alien enhanced with CGI and sometimes, and it works and sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was like, I don't know if you remember, the main villain was this white sort of robotic weird chick with this weird armor, and you could just tell it was foam and jiggly and weird, and that didn't work because I don't know if it was the budget wasn't there or what, but especially when the mom gets turned into one of those, and it's just like you can tell it's this really cosplay. It's cosplay. That's when practical effects go bad, is when it's cosplay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know what it gave me the vibe of is I don't know. It was, and it never got like what's I don't know. You know, the movies that are like Kung Fury. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, look how, like where it's 80s and that's kind of the joke, and like it works for like a 5 or 10 minute thing.
Sure.
But the only time I've ever seen it done like well, it was in Black Dynamite. Like and Hobo with a Shotgun.
Black Dynamite. I haven't seen Hobo, but Black Dynamite is excellent. Black Dynamite.
Yeah. Both of them are like, hey, we're going for this. That we're trying to recreate, but at least Black Dynamite's kind of like tongue in cheek.
Exploitation.
Yeah. And Hobo with Shotgun does it too, but it's like, the kind of thing I think they were going for in this. I think Hobo with a Shotgun like nails.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
There were moments where I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. Where Psycho Goreman was like, that reminds me of the time that I flew this ship into the mouth of and then the girl and it looks cool. And then the girl interrupts and she's like, oh yeah. I don't care about that. And it's like, that's where that character ruins the movie. Cause I wanted to see that.
Yeah.
And the movie makers thought that it was
cute.
More cute and funny to have the girl. And it's like, nah, all right. You just lost me, So I appreciate the practical effects side of it and some of the characters, but like I said, it was too cosplay, and that chick was just so annoying. It's just so bad, and they took that too far. That joke.
Yeah, the girl. I saw it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And I remember that being a thing that most people were like, hey, if you can get into this character, like you'll like the movie, but if she doesn't work for you, the rest of the movie is not going to work for you.
That's exactly what the case was, because I really dig some of that, when they showed him his flashbacks on the different worlds and stuff, and it's like really blatant green screen or blue screen or whatever, and practical effects in front of it. Like I can dig that when it's on an alien world, but if it's in our world and it just looked bad. But anyway, I'm glad I watched it and got it out of the way. The other thing I watched, which ties into one of the movies that I watched, ties into this last weekend. I texted you. I had Joe Bob Briggs, friend of the show, Charlie Gucci, texted me and was like, hey, turn on Joe Bob on Shudder. It's his 100th show, 40th anniversary. And I was like, cool. And it was the beginning of the new season, which they air live. And anybody who knows Joe Bob, Monster Vision, TNT, 80s, 90s, all that stuff. He's a horror host. I turned it on and they're showing Night of the Living Dead, Romero, black and white. I was like, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden his co-host, Darcy, the mail girl, wheels in this massive cake and is like, I got a surprise for you. He's like, I don't like surprises. Let's just get this over with. I know somebody's inside of it. Get him out. Cake pops open. It's Svengoolie. And it blew my fucking mind because you guys all know how much I love Svengoolie. I watch him every Saturday night for my entire life almost. But the catch is that I saw my first horror movie on his show when I was a kid, and it was Night of the Living Dead, black and white Romero. So this was like reliving like that moment of my horror movie awakening. It was crazy.
Yeah, you called me all excited.
Fuck, man, it was crazy. Blew my mind. So it was a double feature though, and the second movie is this movie called Anthropophagus. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It's like one of those really weird like 80s Italian horror movies where it's like over, like the blood is all weird and it's just overly gross and weird. So it's about these like people who are on this island and there's this house and they're on a boat and whatever, and there's a guy called the Anthropophagus who's like this weird, looks human but also his face is all fucked up. He's just going around slashing these people. There's a scene in it though that I guess it's famous for where there's a pregnant woman and he corners her in a cave and reaches in her, pulls out the baby, takes a bite of the baby. The woman dies, the baby dies. He kills the husband who's watching this whole thing. It was bananas, dude. Like a good, like weird Italian 80s horror slasher movie, but also just like, holy shit, what is this? So yeah, that was interesting.
I mean, that's kind of what you want out of, that's what they're kind of there for, Joe Bob Briggs and Svengoolie, to show you movies you wouldn't have ever seen,
especially Joe Bob. Like he shows stuff like that where it's like, he'll stop, take a break in there and be like, so that just happened. Just bananas. But it's so much fun to watch these shows with horror hosts like live, and you're like watching it together. It's a cool experience.
I watched Svengoolie this week when they did Invaders from Mars. Yeah, it was cool.
That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, it was a good one.
We had just done that. I love, like, he just gives cool little tidbits and hosting the movie. It's dope. Anyway, last thing before we get into the movie, this week we lost Neil Adams. For those who don't know, Neil Adams is one of the top 5 comic book creators of all time. Everybody talks about Frank Miller, Batman, but Neil Adams is the one that brought Batman out of the Adam West. Not that there's anything, we love Adam West Batman, but he brought Batman out of Adam West era and into the blue, gray, yellow, more, well, that's Adam West costume too, but gave him a serious vibe. And not only Batman, but Green Lantern, Deadman. He did some X-Men stuff. Just amazing. And the guy loved comics.
Yeah.
You have any experience or?
Yeah, I met him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Okay. He was always really cool. And he was real nice. And like, he was always sketching at shows, even, I mean, the last couple of years. Yeah, he was always really nice. You know what I mean? I never had anything for him to sign or any, but I went over to him and talked to him a little bit. And a lot of these guys, some of these guys, if you're not gonna buy anything or whatever, they're not interested. And he was always super cool. Yeah. He never just had like a big table. Remember, he would have like a ton of shit. Like sure. he would have like a booth essentially. And he was just always nice. And he was willing to sit and bullshit with you. And he
always had a story.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a nice guy.
Did you ever hear his Fat Man on Batman episodes? They were like,
I must have. It was when they first started doing that, right? Yeah,
it was like a trilogy of episodes that were like 3 hours long each.
Yeah, that was when I used to love Fat Man and Batman.
Yeah, I know, me too.
I just pulled it out of my podcast feed today.
Like you got rid of it?
I unsubscribed. I was like, man, stop sending these to me.
Yeah, that guy.
I mean, I haven't listened in a while.
Mark Bernardin is not.
I go back and forth with this Mark Bernardin. He was a writer on season 1 of Picard.
Oh, geez. Shame. But Neil Adams, yeah, he was. If you guys look him up, his artwork is phenomenal. I definitely prefer his older stuff, his earlier stuff. Batman, some classic Joker stuff, Joker covers, and just a real amazing comic. Comics would not be what they are today. He definitely pushed the medium forward. One of those guys. I say Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Neil Adams is right up there.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else? Should we do this?
Yeah.
Silver Bullet, 1985 werewolf movie. Heartthrob, Corey Haim. Heartthrob, Gary Busey. What, did you like it?
Man, I loved it.
Hell yeah.
Loved it, man. I really did. It was fantastic. And I had never heard of it. I tried to track down the Blu-ray or the DVD. And so I called a few Disc Replay, which is the local, the Burbs used DVD store up in the Chicagoland area. I called 3 of them, and all 3 of the clerks had never heard of it.
What?
Yeah. And then one was like, what is it? I'm like, it's a horror movie. He's like, oh, duh. Like werewolves. I was like, yeah. None of them had heard of it.
Weird.
One of them, though, said he would check it out because he looked it up to be like, what is it? And he looked it up while I was on the phone with him. He's like, I might check this out. This looks cool.
Wow, that's so bizarre.
I had never heard of this movie, man. And it's not even like it bombed. I looked up the budget. I mean, it made a little bit of it. Only a $7 million budget, made, I think, 12.
It's based on a Stephen King story. It had Corey Haim right when he was 1985, 87 was Lost Boys, and 87
this is right before he hit.
Right before. Well, he had this, and I think Lucas came out right after this, which was the football movie.
There's a story on IMDb about Gary Busey's son.
Yeah.
Because I guess he was hanging out with them the whole time they were shooting this, and it's what kind of got Jake Busey into acting. Because Jake Busey wasn't acting, and he was just like, I can do that. What the fuck?
So were him and Haim the same age?
They were the same age, and they got tight during this movie. Like they would go fishing and stuff, like on Corey Haim's like days off and stuff, and they would hang out in like the town where they shot it. Like they would go and to ride their bikes and do stuff,
which is at least one of the locations was Wilmington, North Carolina, where my sister lives, and where a lot of stuff around this time, and then moving into the 90s, Dawson's Creek, all that shit was filmed there. I learned that watching this, but that's cool about Jake Busey. But I guess that's cool.
Yeah, I have no problem with Jake Busey. Seems like a cool guy. He's in Starship Troopers,
Yeah. That's really awesome. I'm glad you dug this movie because I loved rewatching it, and I hadn't rewatched this in a long time. I grew up with this movie, as I was watching, I was like, I wonder. I was on the fence, like if you were gonna like this.
Oh man, I loved it. It had everything I want, and it was yeah. I mean, I'll get into it. This was Jaws. I mean, it was. Frankly, I wonder how much of it really is like Stephen King just ripping off Jaws. There's full on scenes where it's like, I mean, that's just Jaws.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess now there was another movie though, while I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is like that, but I can't remember what it was that I was thinking about. Oh yeah. I totally wrote that down. Like I have Jaws right here circled.
Yeah.
In my notes. I guess that's what it was.
I tell you, there's stuff that they do, I think, even better in Jaws. I think the townspeople are a lot more fleshed out.
That's what it was.
Than Jaws, you know. I mean, you see the same townspeople over and over again in Jaws, but in this, like, you know.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was when the town was going on lockdown and like people were like the fireworks celebration was canceled. And I was like, oh, this is like Jaws. But let's run through this cast because I knew you'd recognize some of these people. So directed by Dan Atlas.
Dan.
What else we got on him? Anything?
Nothing. He did this, and then he did TV. Like literally up until he's currently doing TV shows. Like this is the only movie he ever did.
Okay. Written by Stephen King. You got Corey Haim, Gary Busey, our villain Everett McGill. I love this guy, man. Twin Peaks. People Under the Stairs.
Yeah,
that we did last season.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
right?
He is. Yeah,
Leatherman. He was Leatherman.
That's right.
Terry O'Quinn. I'm sure he was a Star Trek guy. Star Trek.
Lost, but
okay.
I never saw. I think he was on Star Trek. I'm pretty sure he was an admiral on Star Trek.
He seems like someone who would be on Star Trek.
I'm almost positive he was on Star Trek.
Megan Follows was the sister, which I know her face, but I couldn't.
She's another one that she's still working. Like she's on the show Heartland. That's on every time I go to the dentist or anytime I reprogram my TV. Like, and they like they throw on some channel. It's the show Heartland is on.
Okay, and then I couldn't find her, but she was listed in the credits. Her name. This woman's name is Tova Feldsha. Tova Feldsha. She was this woman named Deanna on Walking Dead, a very awesome and prominent character. And so I was looking for her throughout the movie, but I couldn't find her. I don't know who she played, but that's all I got for the cast. You got anybody else that stood out? I think that was it.
That was really, a couple actually. But real quick, Terry Quinn was on Star Trek. He played an admiral in a fucking awesome episode.
Okay. I knew it. There were a couple other faces in the townspeople, like the gun shop owner who was always riling people up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's the gun shop owner, Andy, played by Bill Smitho-Rich. He wasn't. I looked him up. He wasn't in a whole lot of other stuff. You had Lawrence Tierney as the bartender.
Oh yeah, Joe
Cabot from Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs. The Thing. Remember Tim Roth? You ever in the comic books, The Thing? That's him.
Yeah,
I love, and he's got the peacemaker, the bat.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Like that. The first thing I thought of was fucking pumpkin pies tonight.
Yeah, it did.
But I
tell you what, this movie does everything that movie's trying to do, but better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, way better. And there's actually, when I went online to find some posters and images for Instagram, I found this amazing, I think it's a cover to either a DVD or VHS, like a later printing. And it's this amazing shot. I'll post it on Instagram of the brother and sister looking at us. And then from behind, almost like Kylo Ren with the lightsaber, it's the werewolf holding the bat.
Yeah.
And all you see is his arm with the holding, and it's just fucking cool.
Is it painted?
Yes.
I might wait. Do you see the werewolf, like his face in this?
Just image? His arm holding the bat.
Then this is not the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, it's such a great. I'll post the image. It's so cool. So yeah, that's the cast. What stood out? What was your biggest? I mean, like usually you hate the movies that make you watch.
No, man, this one First of all, I mean, you know how to get me right away with a, it starts off with a, decapitation. You get two like brutal like killings in the first like 12 minutes of the movie.
Sure. That dude, the guy who gets decapitated,
Mm-hmm.
you know him. I don't know his name, but he's the guy with the voice. I'm pretty sure he's in Charlie Sheen Throws Baseballs.
Major League.
Major League. Isn't he one of the coaches? He's got that, hey, you guys, like that voice.
No, is
Yeah.
that the?
Yeah.
I'll
He's
have to
like,
look into that. The coach. I know exactly who you're talking about.
yeah, like you know who I'm talking about. Anyway.
Yeah, the coach in Major League.
Dude. Yeah. So he's
I'll look that up. But anyway, yeah, and it never slows down. It's funny. We just watched that the Wolf of Snowy Hollow, or whatever it is, and we were like, we were praising that one for being like a whodunit, where it's like, who's the werewolf, the whole movie. And this one, this one does that so well. And I thought for sure it was Gary Busey the whole time.
Really?
I thought it was going to be Gary Busey. In fact, like the scene where he gets where he shoots the thing with a firework.
Yeah.
I thought the thing even looked like Gary Busey, like where they kind of show I was like, it even looks like Gary Busey. It's going to be because that's the thing. Everybody in town's talking about how this guy is a jerk. Not everybody in town, but Corey Haim's mom, he's a bit of a drunk. He's on his third marriage, but he's awesome the whole movie.
Yeah.
I just kept waiting for him to either blow the kid off or not follow through, or like it reminded me of the episode of Saved by the Bell with Mr. Belding with his brother.
Oh yeah, where his brother's teaching, substitute teaching.
Yeah, his brother's like super cool.
Yeah,
and all the kids are like, he's awesome, and Mr. Belding's like, okay, and then he like lets them all down. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I kept expecting.
And the mom kept saying that, like they had that awesome argument where the mom, I made a note about it. She has this really cool monologue, and she's like, I'm the one. I'm the one that has to be there for him when you don't show up or you let him down or whatever. Gary Busey plays just the coolest uncle.
The coolest uncle, man.
The coolest uncle.
But like, I feel like I have very small criticisms of the movie, but like, yeah, one of them would have been like we only see him being awesome. There's no, you know what I mean? Like
we do, but that scene that I was talking about where right before she has her monologue, him and Corey Haim are playing cards or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And Busey's drinking. Like he's literally got a bottle.
Oh, he's drinking. Right, it's not just a bottle. It's a bottle of wild turkey, which is that's the hardest of the of the whiskeys, man.
You can tell he's one of those. We had a neighbor when I was a kid who was a drunk who drank wild turkey. That was his drink. Now that you say it. And he was a friend of my dad's. He would come over, and I did not. He wasn't necessarily a bad person, but when he drank, he was just too over the top. And that's what Busey was. And so when I saw that, I was like, yeah, the kid's having fun, but it's also uncomfortable if you put yourself in that situation. Like he's swearing and he's so like over the top and slamming the bottle and slamming the cards. And it, for a kid, especially, you could be like, whoa.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I'm watching it, I'm like, it's 1976. Everybody drinks.
That's true.
It
is set in 1976, even though
which I didn't. It was funny because I had the thought halfway through the movie about how, man, it's 80s movies really, up to a certain point, they don't have to. They could be anytime. And then when I looked into it, I'm like, oh, this is set in 1970s. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The year after Jaws.
Yeah, year after Jaws. But it was kind of funny. The one. We start off with the most unnecessary narrator I've ever. It reminded me of Blade Runner. Like where she has this monologue in the beginning and then she pops back in the middle of the movie to narrate some more. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. There was a narrator. But like the shit, end too. But the shit she narrates is like, then he told me all about the werewolf. And like, we don't, we know. Like we got that part.
I kind of liked the one where she popped in the middle and she's like, what my brother told me was horrific and unbelievable or something like that. And it kind of added to the moment. But when you look at the two bookends, like she comes back in at the end and I guess we'll get to that point later, but how she ends it. She's like, I love you too, Marty. And it's like, it's kind of weird.
It's very weird
It's
and
very
very.
weird.
I feel like it was probably. I mean, it was written by Stephen King.
Yeah.
I'll bet his short because I don't know if it's based on a short story, right? It's not a full book,
I
right?
think so. It's called Cycle of the Werewolf.
Yeah, I feel like he probably wrote that from because that's probably from her perspective, and
Sure.
then just carried it over.
Yeah, because he also wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, I wonder if this was the first screenplay he wrote. But Cat's Eye came out the same year.
Did it?
Yeah.
I thought wasn't Cat's Eye earlier? No.
No,
Maybe
Cat's
not.
Eye. This is
Okay.
Cat's Eye came out the same year.
Okay.
This is the I think 10th or 11th adaptation of Stephen King.
That's bananas.
I mean they were firing them off.
This one. I love how it's almost like a fairy tale with between like the music. I don't know if you remember the music in the opening is very like whimsical and like almost like something you'd hear in The Labyrinth maybe or something because it's a werewolf movie. You're preparing yourself for something eerie, but it's the opposite, and it kind of comes back in. That theme comes in throughout the movie and continues to carry it as a fairy tale. It's pretty unique as far as that goes. But Stephen King's, everybody associates Stephen King with like absolute horror. But when you look at a lot of his stuff, Shawshank and Green Mile, and there are a lot of like positive notes up in there. And even though there's a werewolf movie, I would say it's in there with those movies as far as theme and aesthetic.
Yeah, this was up there, man, for me. I really, really enjoyed it. You know what I really liked about it too is it could have been very easily. They could have made it PG or even PG-13. Like this is by this time PG-13 was around. They didn't do it. It's R for the violence. Like that, the violence is like fucking hardcore, which was awesome. People are getting their heads bashed in with baseball bats but like it also you could sell it like you if you tame up the violence and then I think the sheriff says fuck once. You take that line out, you could sell this as the Goonies.
A little bit,
maybe not the Goonies, but like definitely like in that, which I'm sure was making those kind of movies. I'm sure were making way more money. I love they didn't turn down the violence because it is every death in this movie.
It's crazy because the in between the violence, like I said, with the music and everything and the relationship between Busey and the kid, you're unprepared for the violence when it comes up. The beheading is one thing to open it like that, but one of my favorite and one of the scariest scenes is the suicide with the woman's gonna take the pills. And the werewolf climbs up the lattice and busts through the window. The way it looks, like they put this dude in a suit because there's some great werewolf movies that we've talked about, but even like The Howling, London, Waxwork, a lot of times when you see the werewolf, the camera's tight and it's not moving. It's more focused on like what the face is doing. But this one, they put a dude in like a monkey suit or whatever, werewolf suit, and he's jumping through windows and like doing shit. The werewolf design is very minimal, but it's also very practical and functional. It
was actually Everett McGill in the suit too.
No shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, he has 2 credits.
That's great.
This. Yeah, he played the werewolf too.
And that scene where when he busts through the window and the woman's going to take the pills and he just claws the shit out of her, and they keep showing like him like his claws like running down the chick and like she's screaming, and then when the mom finally comes in, she's laying on the bed and she's like fucked, she's bloody. I just love that scene. I love how they chose what they had the werewolf do. He climbs up the lattice. Werewolves don't do that. We don't see werewolves do that. Climbs up the wall and busts through the window. Usually it's like, you run into him in an alley or in the woods or something. So it was a different kind of werewolf attacks, I guess.
And the kid, like Corey Haim in this, man, like that's the other thing. Like it's interesting they put him in the wheelchair. It's such a unique choice, and not just a wheelchair, but like they give him like a hot rod wheelchair. It's such a
his
weird,
uncle makes.
Yeah, it's such a weird choice.
I wonder if they expound on that more in the book as to like why they, like if you see more about the background of that or whatever. I don't know.
I know that. I mean, he says in the beginning, Gary Busey made it for him and everything else.
Or like why they chose to make the leader crippled, because he's very capable in this, even though he's crippled.
Yeah, he's climbing
up and down that, like from his window, his upper body strength's got to be like,
Yeah, I thought the same thing. He
You
climbs
know?
a tree in this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, but he, what's another thing they do that? Like,
how did
you know
you
what?
like? Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go.
I like the beginning, like the first like 4 people until he starts taking out like big chunks of the town. They're all just shitty people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and like comically so, like the girl's dad.
Oh yeah.
The girl's dad is watching wrestling, has the line, is it get away from what he says, get away from the damn, or he goes, get away from that kid, whatever. And then he goes,
Balancing the budget.
he goes, goddamn cripples. They should electrocute all of them, balance the goddamn budget.
Yeah.
Like, what a weird thing to
So
say.
weird. It is weird. I mean,
But I think he's just a drunk, angry guy, you know?
he was like, I wrote that line down too. He's like, said something like, goddamn cripples, like living off of welfare. He's like, you should
He goes, yeah, they all
electrocute them all and you'd balance the budget. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, geez, like this guy is a turd bag. But he also, what a great death.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. And as a kid,
in the greenhouse, yeah.
in the greenhouse, as a kid, I always focused on when he takes that step over, he takes a step and they show the werewolf is underneath and he's like looking up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you notice that?
Yeah.
As a kid, I always focused on that. I'm like, wait, where is the werewolf? Like, is he under the boards or like what? And that's where he is. And then coming up through the floor, and it's not really the werewolf that kills him. You notice when he falls through, he falls like a board goes through
like
him.
a board goes through him, and then the werewolf,
and then the werewolf pulls him in.
I love that you. I mean, it really is Jaws. You have a sheriff that's like in over his head. That's like everybody's not. Well, these people are a lot jerkier than the townspeople in Jaws.
More like backwater people, because it's a small town.
Yeah, that was the other thing. At first I was like, why the fuck isn't the FBI come in here? Like 4 people got murdered, and then it was like, oh, it's a small town in 1976. Like, that's, you know, I guess that's what would happen, you know. And then they kill a kid, and which, you know, I always give movies a lot of credit for,
which leads to some of the best. His dad, the kid's dad, man, like he has that.
Kent Broadbent, I think, is the actor.
He was great.
Yeah, he was.
When he comes in, because leading up to that with the kids, so it's Corey Haim's best friend and they're flying the kite. Yeah. That's another one, because I'm sure you had the same experience. Like when we were kids, we weren't sitting inside doing TV or I mean, there was TV, there was video games. We watched and did plenty of that. But the majority of the day was outside. Yeah. And we didn't come back in until dinner time. And sometimes it was starting to get dark. And so every time I watched this scene, this kid is like, you know, the sister's like, dinner was an hour ago. And she comes to get him. And he's like, oh shit, I'm coming. And he tells his friend, he's like, come on. He's like, no, I'll be along in a while. He's still flying his kite. And you're like, oh shit, man, I would never do that.
Well, they hold on Corey Haim, like looking at him. And it's like, oh, he's dead. There was a bunch of shit, man, like that. I mean, they nailed this little, like the brother-sister relationship.
I was going to ask about the brother-sister relationship.
They nailed that, man, about how like she's fine. She, you know, they really did a good job.
When he comes in with the money for the pantyhose, that's a great scene.
Yeah, like how you hate. Yeah, you would definitely like argue and you bitch about them, and you know, even like when he's like, oh, the fireworks are gone. She's like, yeah, fireworks. Like, and he's like, she's like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be like, and the parents are like, would you shut up? Like both of them, like, yeah, it was just everything, everybody's relationship. I bought it. Even like the mom and Gary Busey, like that was, you got it, you know,
sure.
Like it was
brother sister, sure.
Yeah, it was. They really did. You know,
that was a really good. Which I just thought about this. The mom and Gary Busey are brother sister, and then you've got Corey Haim and his sister. Like it's almost like the distorted mirror of the two relationships. The kids are watching the relationship, this weird quasi toxic relationship between Busey and the mom, and then you've got Corey Haim and his sister. Like, you know, before they kill that kid, they play that prank and she falls in the mud, and Haim feels so bad about it. He gives money for the new pantyhose. I love that though. When she's like, she's so angry. She just fell in the mud. She's so angry. And she says, she's like, I hate you, you booger. Yeah. It's like, she's so angry, but she calls him a booger
because she's a square.
Yeah. I know. It's hilarious. But I wanted to go back to the kid that died with the dad. When he comes in after he dies and they're all bickering in the bar,
Yeah, there's a whole all the townspeople are
They're like mobbing up.
they want to be like
Pumpkin
vigilantes.
pies tonight.
Yeah, they're like working out who's gonna go where, and they're gonna go try and find the guy.
And the sheriff is like, yo, this is one step away from lynching and mob justice and all this stuff. He's like, why don't you just be quiet? And then all of a sudden you hear the dad. He goes, yes, why don't you shut up?
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes into this big monologue. But even before that, when the son's missing and he comes in, he's like, has anyone seen my son?
Yeah. And what's cool is like, that's what I love about it's town. Like you get the sense like everybody knows who this guy is. Yeah. Everybody knows who his son is. You know what I mean? He knows everybody in this bar. Everybody in this town is on a first name basis. Yeah. It's fucking cool. And it's like there's a guy that runs a gun store. There's a guy that runs whatever. And but that scene where where he comes in the bar and yells at the sheriff.
Yeah. Because about private justice.
Yeah. That's straight out of fucking Jaws. The only difference, like when the woman Kittner's mom shows up and yells at Brody, and like
she like slaps him, right?
She slaps him in the face, and I mean, it's like
that's a great scene in Jaws because it's short and sweet. It gets the point across of like this woman who just lost her son to a fucking shark, and it's just boom. I like this one more because I mean there's nothing wrong with that Jaws scene. It's great. But this one I like more because this dad is just he looks very unique, even though he's just a bald guy. And the way he speaks and that he's speaking about his son who got killed by what ends up being a werewolf at this moment. They don't know that. It's just a really, really awesome scene. And then they go out as a mob. I love this scene when they go out.
What's funny, because I watched this twice, and the first time I noticed this, but didn't think anything of it. But the second time, the Reverend comes because they all go running out of the bar.
And he's trying to stop them.
And the Reverend's like trying to stop all of them. Yeah. And it's like, that's kind of funny. Because
you know what I mean? I was going to ask you, because like, do you think, because the Reverend ends up, I don't want to get to it yet, but he ends up having a dream that is, I think, influenced by his guilt later on. But in this scene, they're going, yeah, let's go. Pumpkin pies tonight. And they're getting in their cars and he's trying to stop them. At first, I'm thinking he's trying to stop them because he knows they're going after him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to get hurt. But then it's like, oh, after later on, you see his remorse, a little bit of remorse. I think is he trying to stop them in this moment because he doesn't want to hurt them?
Yeah, I think that's why they don't really go into him all that much. But like, I got the sense that he's getting crazier.
Sure.
As you know what I mean? Like, because by the like as the movie progresses,
which makes sense because the title of the original book is The Cycle of the Werewolf. So it's like, which implies like a ongoing progressive thing. And usually in werewolf lore, the werewolf, like London, like he has these bouts of werewolfism and it's not full on until the full moon. In this one, they kind of get rid of that for the movie, I guess. So because he can change, he starts changing. He
can change. It seems
almost
like
at will.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes you think though, like, I mean, I don't know. I at one point when I was trying to reason it together, it was like, oh, maybe he's like aiming it. He knows he's going to change. So he aims it at jerks or the pregnant lady that was going to kill her. Like maybe that's what he's doing,
He does say that. Yeah, I guess maybe that could be it. He was like, I don't know who he's talking to, but he kind of runs down like the list of.
Oh yeah. That's when he was
like this. He was like, it's a sin to kill yourself. I helped basically like I helped her by killing her.
But but she's the only one he has that excuse for. He's already killed like 5 people at that point.
Well, how do you the scene where the mob does end up going out into the woods, and it's like it's very analogous to actually Lon Chaney Jr. Like every time that mob went out into the woods, it was all foggy and like in the marsh. I love this scene.
Dude, it was awesome. It was awesome. I mean, it was even the next like 10 minutes of the movie are awesome because
talk about like setting a vibe.
Yeah, they're walking through like this foggy like bog and whatever, and then it's these hands just start pulling these people in, and like what's cool is you would think, I mean, it is a little bit covered up, but it's still like super crazy, like it's still super violent. Like he rips the one guy under and then pulls him back up and his fucking face is missing. And
very blob. That's
the first time I saw it, when he gets Lawrence Tierney, Joe, it's Lawrence, but I'm trying to remember the actor. It is Lawrence, yeah. Yeah, when he gets him, the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, he's really fighting him with that bat." I hadn't realized that he took the bat away from him
Yeah.
and like was
Well,
hitting him with
the
it.
first 2 hits I think is him.
Yeah,
And then the bat goes down, and then all of a sudden it comes back up, and it's the werewolf
yeah.
holding the bat, which
It's
is
just you don't see
fucking
that
cool.
out of a werewolf very often. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you using a bat.
Yeah,
Like that's pretty cool.
I love that. I love the opening to this scene where I forget which character it is, but he's like, they start hearing the noises in the mist, and this is some thick ass fog. It's like up to their chest.
Yeah.
And he says something like, "It's not over there. It's here with us. Like it's underneath the mist." That's just, dude, I'm like, what do you do in that situation? If you're one of these people and you're hunting this werewolf, all right, let's bypass the fact that you've gone out in the middle of the woods. It's foggy as fuck. This thing has just been mutilating people, and you're in this moment, and it's just like, you start hearing this shit, and it could literally be anywhere. It's almost like it's very much like being in the ocean, which is my greatest fear of why I don't go in the ocean anymore, is because I'm up to my neck in water. I have no idea what's right below the surface.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I love this scene.
Yeah, man, it's wild. And then you got like, so then like, it kills like 5 or 6 people, and then it cuts to like this funeral with like 5, like 8 coffins.
Yeah.
Everybody in town starts turning to a werewolf, and it turns out it's the priest is dreaming. But that dream sequence, man, where they're all turning to werewolves, holy shit, it was just awesome. And then my favorite part is the woman on the piano turns into a werewolf, but she keeps playing the piano,
but like hammering the keys.
Yeah.
So
it was
when I watched this is the first time that I likened it to, in The Howling, at the end when they're in the barn and everybody starts changing, and right before the fire and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you told me that it was one werewolf that they kept reusing, like one suit or one something. But in this, like, you can obviously see, like, they put makeup on everyone.
They did, but they didn't have. So they used their, from what I read, they used it sparingly. Like, there's a lot of extras in the background that are like jumping around that you can't see, like you just assume, and the way they move the camera and the things they decided to focus on, you did get the sense that it was everybody.
I don't know if you saw the pictures I posted in our Instagram story, but I took pictures of this scene because I had never like paused it and looked, and there's some fucking great werewolf makeup going on in there that is a shame that they didn't really like use more of. But yeah, this scene, you start to realize that there's something wrong going on as he's stuttering and giving his sermon. But like, putting yourself in anybody's shoes in this, it's almost like Midnight Mass, where like the whole mass turns.
It totally reminded me of Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
This whole movie did. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's a small town. Fucking everybody knows each other,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I love, and the preacher, all that shit. But this is just a great scene. So this is where he wakes up and he's like, fuck. Like,
I still didn't know at that point. Like, when the priest woke up, I should have, but I didn't know.
What are you thinking then? When
I'm still thinking Gary Busey.
Well, why did he have the dream though of werewolves?
I didn't even put that together.
Okay.
I was like, who is that? The priest? Oh, that's weird.
Okay.
Like, I didn't think about it.
So
it
wasn't until he actually, where they show the eye patch, is that when you were like, okay, it's him?
It was right before they show the eye patch, like when she's going all over town, and then they get there and they like his face. She goes to the, it's the last spot, and it's when she's like giving up. She's like, he's a jerk. I'm not gonna find this guy with an eye patch. Yeah. And then I'm like, I knew. I mean, it was pretty clear he was gonna turn around.
I love that you didn't. I love that you. That it was so fresh. It was so fresh to you that you had no clue what the mystery was.
I thought it was gonna be Gary Busey, and to the point where Gary Busey gives Corey Haim a shitload of fireworks. He goes to this bridge, and he's firing them off, and he winds up putting a firework in the werewolf's eye, and he goes home and calls Gary Busey. And when he did that, it threw me off. And Gary Busey's like in bed.
Yeah, and
I was like, oh, that's weird. Maybe did he get home or what? Like, I was sure that's what it was gonna be. But
did you ever do anything like this where like he gives him the fireworks, but he also gives him, this is where he gets the rocket ship, the silver bullet wheelchair. He gives it to him that day. They have the barbecue, and then as he's leaving, he like gives him this bag of fireworks. Whether it's fireworks or not, did you ever, like, as a kid, either sneak out or go out at night? Like, I'm looking at this kid, like his best friends died, got torn apart. People are dying all over the place. And he sneaks out of his room at night, gets in his wheelchair, which is loud as fuck. It's got like,
it's a motorcycle.
Like a motorcycle, I was going to say like a lawnmower motor on it. Drives to this bridge in the middle.
This new one's got more than a lawnmower, man.
Yeah,
this new one is fast. This new one, he outruns a car.
Dude, that scene where he tests it out is fucking hilarious. Like, he's like
that's the other thing, man. Imagine and that's what's great about Gary Busey in this movie is, we're like, he's awesome because we were both 12-year-old boys at one point.
Yeah,
but he's also like looking at it from the mother's perspective, like he's drinking fucking wild turkey around him. He's swearing. He's giving him fireworks. He's giving him. Think about that. Like, the kid's like 12, and he's pretty much giving him a motorcycle.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty nuts.
Think about being that parent.
Yeah, and you got to be the jerk that says you can't.
So he sneaks out with the fireworks, and I'm thinking, my first thought is like, are you the biggest dumbass? Like, what are you doing? And then at the same time, I'm like, all right, kids do shit like this, like, without
prioritizing,
where their brain just like is empty, and they just all he's thinking about is fireworks, you know?
Yep.
And he
it makes sense. It tracks
this. Sure. You know, he goes and because there's been plenty of movies that we've watched where we're like, especially horror movies, it's a trope where you're like, are you serious? What are you doing? You know, like, what are you doing?
But I mean, I was gonna say if he was 19, it would be like, come on. But I'm thinking like, if I was 19, I had a big bag of fireworks, I probably would have been out there.
We when I was a kid, in North Carolina, when we lived in North Carolina, fireworks were illegal. You had to go to South Carolina to buy them.
That's how it is out here. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
You got to go to Indiana.
We'd always go, and then we'd come home, we'd let them off, and eventually the cops would show up and be like, you can't do that, whatever. But there was this one year, it always reminds me, and the first thing I thought of was like, when this happened, I looked around to make sure there weren't any werewolves around. But my brother, who you know really well, and next time you see him, you could bring this up. He, Roman candles.
Yeah.
So my dad was there, and we're on our property. My dad, in a very Gary Busey kind of moment, is really excited. Hands my brother this Roman candle, and is like, "Hold on to it, and I'm gonna light the end, bang, whatever. It's gonna be like you're firing a gun, whatever." He hands it to my brother, lights it, and he had given it to him backwards, and the Roman candle, the Roman candle fires at him inward to my brother, and like lit up his hand and all his shit. To this day, you bring this up and he'll be like, yeah, my fucking dad, like, it was terrifying.
That's awesome. But now, now that I have kids, like, I totally sympathize with your dad. Like, because sometimes you do dumb shit like that.
It's hilarious, man.
I was throwing my kid up in the air like the other day, and then I forgot the fucking ceiling. He didn't hit it, but I was like, oh shit, he came really close. It was like, I thought you were
gonna say there was like a ceiling fan.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was a ceiling fan, and he didn't hit it, but he definitely could have. I was like,
why? I feel like that's never been in a movie where it's like dad's throwing the kid up. Yeah.
That's definitely been the movie.
Like a Peter Jackson
man.
movie.
You just like, oh shit.
Yeah. Where you like look back on it, you're like, wow, that could have gone really bad.
Yeah.
know? So this is where how did you like the scene where the werewolf is obviously here's the fireworks going off, probably comes to the bridge, and it's just like, I love how this movie, it doesn't shy away, even right from the beginning. They show glimpses of the werewolf. Like, it's not like they wait until the very end to show you the monster. He's peppered through there.
Yeah.
And this is one of those scenes where we get to see his full face.
Yeah.
When he takes one to the eye.
I dug the design. But so when I was doing research on this, I guess the director and the effects team, like, they really liked this design, and Dino De Laurentiis, who produced this, was like, no, send it back. This this design sucks. You need to redo it. And it was a big point of contention where they were like, nope, this is the design we want to go with. And he fought him on it, and then eventually he was like, eventually he couldn't. He was like, all right, fine. And while like I think this is a kick-ass design, I get what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
like it doesn't like compared to like other werewolves. I mean, werewolf movies were coming out a ton in this era. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
The Howling had already come out. You know, probably the Howling 2. You know, American Werewolf, and those are known for like what their werewolves look like. They look awesome.
Right. This one we never. Well, yeah, I guess at the end.
At the end, you see it
full on, but it is a very like almost muted, like toned down version of a werewolf traditionally.
Well, he's standing up on 2 feet, which is less common than you would think.
And it's not just 2 feet. It's like, you know how werewolves, even if they stand like howling, they stand on 2 feet, but they're like still wolf legs where they're like, bent weird. This is just man legs, like, which makes more sense in a way. Anatomically.
I mean, let's Lon Chaney. That's what he did.
Exactly. There's a lot of homage in this to that. Carlo Ribaldi, I believe, is the creature designer.
I thought the design was awesome. I liked it a lot, but I definitely saw, it could have used another one. I mean, it looks cool, but it doesn't really touch the other ones, even though it does look cool. But yeah, man. And that's the other thing is like, I checked the time once because then they do that cool thing where she goes around town. The sister goes around town looking for an eye patch, right. Because
before you go there, I just want to briefly mention like Corey Haim in this scene when he sees the werewolf and then when he escapes is like phenomenally like I bought his fear. Like I bought how fucking terrified he was. His face, it was great. And I think the dude was an awesome actor. Like it's too bad he died so young because I think who knows what he could have done. But watching his face when he sees the werewolf for the first time is like, fuck. Anyway, sister's going around collecting cans looking for the eye patch, man. And I mean, and it's the scene's super tense once she like sees it, that when she figures out who it is and everything. I mean, this whole movie, it was an awesome mix of like Hardy Boys and like everything that it kind of took from it did very well, all of its influence. That's Stephen King, man. That's Stephen King all the way. Have you ever read Stephen King?
No, I've never read a Stephen King.
So I would highly recommend, his books are fucking massive.
Yeah.
Grab one of his short stories, whatever. The first Stephen King book that I read was called Eyes of the Dragon. It's a nice small paperback, and it's sword and sorcery kind of vibe, but it does have a couple characters that like Flag, the devil, who's in all of his books, is in there. So it's got continuity, but it's a great quick read. His writing style is just, it flows, man. It flows so well. And you can see it when he is involved in his movies, and having, not only was this based on his book, but he wrote the screenplay. I think that shows. But she finds his bat. She finds the Peacemaker bat in this scene in the garage with all the cans. Was there also something that we were supposed to think when, she comes up with the bottles and cans, and he's like, before he doesn't turn around, so she doesn't see his eye patch, but he's like, go take him to the garage and bring me your tally sheet. She goes to the garage and opens it, and it's just filled with cans. So are they saying like this is a bullshit operation?
No, because I thought the same thing, because they played like creepy music and there were like way like there were a shitload of cans. But and maybe because there's like the Peacemaker bats buried in there or whatever. But also when she's collecting cans, they say, hey, fucking kid was just by collecting cans. Like, so seemingly other kids are doing this.
Okay,
you're right. And they got to put them somewhere.
But yeah, it finds the bat. Then she knows, and she sees the eye patch, and she's like, "Oh shit!" Oh.
And then their idea, she comes home and tells
so I love this.
Oh yeah, so he makes a note, like a like ransom note, essentially, like where he cuts letters out of magazines and glues it to he mails it and just says, I know who you are, why don't you kill yourself?
Yeah, it says I know who you are, I know what you are, why don't you kill yourself? It's just like what?
Like Jesus, man. And then he sends it and then they say they send him like 3 more of those.
It's like something that like a kid would say, like, why don't you just kill yourself?
I mean, like, imagine if they're wrong. Like, and then what I love is the next scene is they're telling Gary Busey like what's going to go down, and Gary Busey's like, Jesus Christ, you what? What have you been? That's the great thing about Gary Busey in this movie is he has the proper reaction to every anytime he's like, no, man. That was the other quick criticism I had was like Corey Haim guesses, like flat out guesses, like
werewolf.
Like everybody in town thinks it's like a serial killer, and he's like, what if it's a werewolf? Like, and rightfully so, Gary Busey's like, it's not werewolf. You're watching too many movies, man.
Which is, I caught that too. I was
based on no evidence.
Where did he pull that from?
I don't even know why they think it's a person, because these people are besides the girl who like it came in her window and like murdered her. Everybody else is like they're getting ripped in half. Like, why don't they think it's a bear?
Yeah,
you know, why do they think it's a serial killer?
That's definitely a valid criticism. You know, we haven't said it enough, and Busey doesn't get enough credit.
He kills it.
He's so good. But he doesn't get enough credit for his pre-accident. Before he was a nut job, Gary Busey was a solid actor. And he not only in a movie like this, which, you know, you're a horror fan, you had never heard of this. Those people you called and talked to, they work at video stores. They had never heard of this. That boggles my brain, because this was a big deal when I was a kid.
It wasn't on HBO or anything, or I don't know, you know,
I don't know where I saw it first, but anyway, for him to put in a performance like this in a movie you had never heard of, many people apparently haven't.
I mean, first time director, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
like, it's just, he doesn't get enough credit. And not only that, but I love in this movie how his sister paints him as this bum, this drunk, but he's the voice of reason throughout the entire movie.
He's the adult. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's the adult.
He's what you would say, you know, but like,
he's an amazing role model in a lot of ways. Like, aside from his wild turkey card game, like, he's an amazing role model. And I love when you see a character that it's not just fed to you. Like, he gives a shit. They actually show Gary Busey gives a shit about these kids and about the whole family, the sister, everything. Yeah. Wants to be a bigger part. And I love when he's
already, that's how about when he's at the funeral and like, he goes to like, he's at the funeral, he goes to go for his flask. And then he like looks at his nephew, and his nephew is fucking sad. And he's like, he puts the flashback. Like, that's just, I mean, like you get the sense like, okay, maybe, you know, he's trying, you know?
Right. No, definitely. It's such a great character, moments and story and arc. And then also the performance.
You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like Kevin Dillon in the Blob, where everybody in town is like, fuck that kid, fuck that guy. But then he's only the one good. I mean, like, he's got an attitude at the beginning, but besides that,
he's got his shit together.
Yeah, he's only making good decisions. He's only, you know, but you're like, why does everyone not like this guy? Like, this guy's fucking cool.
I think in the instance of Dylan's character, it's more that he doesn't want to have anything to do with these fucking people. So he pulls himself out of the equation, and that causes people to look at him like, oh, that guy's he's a bad dude. Dude, I got to say, it's been creeping me out. I just realized what it is. The balloons that you have in your room, in the window, in the reflection of the window. I'm like, dude, at first I was like, is Lynn's walking around over here out of screen or what? Or is like a werewolf going to jump in through your window? I don't know, but it's like fucking messing with me. Then we get a second. Don't do that. Don't look over your shoulder like that. Then we get like a second bridge scene. This is where the Reverend is just like, the note scene is great because he's reading the note and he folds it down and he's angry. He's just like, this motherfucker. And so he follows him, I guess, in his car.
Dude, this scene is
tries
nuts.
to run him off the road. It's like,
it's because at first you think he's just like following him, and then it's like, no, man, he's gonna. And they don't play around either. Like,
you get to see how fast this fucking wheelchair is. But it's just the fact that, like, you know, earlier I asked you about, do you think the Reverend has any remorse or whatever? But then he goes and he does this, where he's like, he's going after this kid with his car. It's crazy. He tries to run him off the road. They do this whole chase thing. But it ends up on this bridge. It's like dilapidated, fucked up bridge. Corey Haim drives his wheelchair into it and like tries to hide or whatever. And the Reverend like follows him in. And it's like, I remember also this scene as a kid being like, wow, like, what do? You can't get out of it. Your wheelchair's stuck. You can't walk because you're crippled. And here comes the werewolf. And it's like midday and he's going to change or whatever. Who knows what the fuck is happening?
Well, I don't think he was going to change, but he definitely was going to do something terrible to him. You know?
Yeah. And then he sees the farmer, and he's like, Farmer Julian, get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, that was cool. That was a little bit of a coincidence, but it worked. But then what's cool is like, he brings it back to Gary Busey, and Gary Busey's like, really? Like, I mean, I don't think you're making it up, but like, you know how fucking crazy that sounds. And then like, he shows him the paint on the wheelchair and he's like, all right. I love scenes where the skeptic finally gets on board. Yeah.
But it's earned, it's earned.
Yeah. That's Star Trek 5. Sorry, not to bring up Star Trek, but I love
Star Trek.
I don't want to say I love Star Trek 5. Star Trek 5 isn't perfect. It's
Which one is 5 again?
That's the one where they're looking for God.
Okay, with the brother.
Yeah, with Spock's brother. Okay. But like, what I love about it is like, he takes over the Enterprise by force and all this other stuff. And he says like, basically, I've been studying this and I've been whatever, and I think I know where God is. I can find him. And Kirk's like, this, whatever. But then he shows him evidence, and Kirk's like, even though he's like, he's not into that he took over. She's like, okay, like what you said checks out.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's investigate. Like, I like, here's the evidence of what I just said. And like, in a shittier horror movie, you'd have somebody be like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, what do you mean it doesn't mean anything?
Exactly. That's what I was going to just say is like, and I feel like maybe Killer Clowns that happens, even though Tobacco convinces like those two guys something.
You've got Mooney. Is it? Yeah, it's Mooney.
Yeah.
Where he just,
right.
He's delusional on purpose. Like,
okay.
Like,
well, we've watched plenty of movies where it's like, you do get that person that's like, no, I don't believe you for no reason. I don't believe you.
Exactly. And and what's cool is that Busey goes to the cop.
I wonder though,
even the cop is like, that's nuts. But I thought that too. How much did he tell him? Like, did he tell him the werewolf part?
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think he told him?
I think he told him like, hey man, like I bet he told him that the nephew thinks it's the priest that's been killing everybody.
And he tried to run him off the road.
Because he knows.
Okay.
Like, I think he probably didn't tell him the werewolf part.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because it's still the crazy. Because he says that's the craziest story
exactly.
Ever.
Yeah, the cop still says
it's still pretty fucking crazy,
right? To think that the Reverend is going around killing people, and then also tried to kill this little boy, this crippled boy in a wheelchair. Yeah, that's bananas. No, go ahead.
That's another cool thing is that they didn't he's in a wheelchair, but he's not. It's not like a disadvantage. You know what I mean? I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, you don't feel bad for him.
He's very capable. Like we said,
whereas like the kid Mac and me in the wheelchair, you feel bad for him. You're like, oh,
I can't believe you just brought up Mac and me.
Yeah, well, there's not that many movies with the protagonist is in a wheelchair.
There is something else. It's like more prominent. No, there's got to be something. I feel like there is. I don't know. Oh, so so the sheriff then goes to see if this checks.
Yeah, and he's doing his police work. He's seeing everything, and man, this was awesome. And then when he finds him, he changes. Yeah, he has like, I'm gonna change scene. He changes, and then what's wild is he changes into a werewolf and then bashes his head. Like, you didn't have to change into a werewolf to bash his head in with a baseball bat,
right?
But he does, and it's just like, whoa. Like, they don't play around. Like, they show it, and that's what I mean. Like, I would love to show this to like a 12-year-old or like to me, like it's just effective.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, I definitely would show this to like a 10 or 11-year-old.
I mean, that's when I watched it. The way when I was a kid, I was always like, when I wanted to watch a rated R movie and my parents wouldn't let me, but I knew that there was a kid my age or younger in it. That was my justification for being able to watch it. And I still say that holds.
I mean, depending on the movie. I mean, I tried that with Boys in the Hood. I was a kid,
but that's not really about a 12-year, like a little kid.
I mean, yeah,
to the extent
in the beginning it is.
To the extent that this is.
Yeah,
like people under the stairs, I wouldn't fool. Even though
you wouldn't show them that because that movie kind of sucks.
It does suck. I wouldn't show anybody that movie. But I love this line in this scene. Well, first of all, like it's super creepy. Sheriff's looking around. He finds the paint on the car.
There's nothing in it that I would say it's a little, it's I mean it's creepy and weird, I bet is that one even rated R? I guess because Ving Rhames is talking about being like the pussy president or something, or whatever he says.
I don't know. Did you get a glitch on your end?
You froze for a little while, but
you froze as well. You froze as well. Weird. Anyway, this scene is super creepy. When the sheriff finds the paint on the car and he's still looking, and then the Reverend just pops out of nowhere. Yeah. Like he's like waiting in the garage. Or I'm sure he saw the cop coming up and like snuck into the garage or something like that. But I love this line that he has when the sheriff is, he pulls his gun on him and then the Reverend screams like, "But it's not my fault." And he rips the eye patch off and then starts to change. It's such a super creepy delivery of a simple line.
Yeah, it was solid, man. And you see, I mean, it was awesome. Yeah, it was great. And then they cut back to like, Gary Busey and the kids, and they're like, "Well, what do we do now? The sheriff's fucking dead."
Yeah.
Like
their answer to it is take the silver, get it made into silver bullet. Somewhere I don't know where I saw this, but they were talking about, it was a behind the scenes thing. And it was yesterday. I can't remember. Maybe it was on YouTube, but they were talking about the guy who melts down the silver for the bullet and makes the bullet. How he's like this. You don't get any background on him other than he maybe owns a gun shop or something like that. And Busey goes to him. But I love the exchange where he's like, he guesses, like Busey's like, "So I got a nephew. He's into the Lone Ranger. I want to make him a silver bullet, blah, blah, blah." And the guy goes, "For a werewolf, right?" And it's like,
I thought it was different. I thought he said he's in the Lone Ranger. He goes, "You want a silver bullet?" I didn't know that he brought up a werewolf.
He says, he says werewolf in there. Like because Busey is like, Busey asks him like, "I want you to make a silver bullet, please." Yeah. And then the guy goes something like, "You're hunting a werewolf," or something. He says something like that. And then this behind the scenes thing that I saw talks about this guy. And I guess, I don't know if it's headcanon or what, but they're like, this dude making the bullet, like he's like been through some stuff. Like he knows he's probably made like all kinds of weird shit and like crazy stuff in the past.
It's like Grandpa from Lost Boys.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
That kind of thing.
Like you could do a whole prequel on this dude and what he's seen or what he's made in the past.
But I really dug that, showing like how they made it and all that stuff.
Dude, I love scenes like that.
Yeah. And like here you only got one.
Yeah.
But the actual scene where like they stay up and like wait for it, because then they get rid of the parents and they all just stay up and wait for this werewolf.
Lost Boys, man, where they like they trick Grandpa into leaving to go on a date with Widow Johnson so that he's out of the house, mom's at work. It's totally like similar scenario.
That was the thing, man. Like, so they all just fall asleep. They're all in the living room. And then the scene that like transpired is kind of like I liked it a lot. Don't remember, I liked everything. By the way, Gary Busey did all his own scenes, and he fucked himself up when they threw him into that bookshelf.
Really? He did his stunts?
Wow. He did all of his own stunts. Yeah. Cool. They all fall asleep in the living room, and then Gary Busey wakes up, and I think they all do, and he's like, "You know what? Go to bed. You guys go to bed." and they're like, "Why? We all said we're gonna stay up all night." He's like, "Yeah, well, it's late. It's like 2:30. You just go to bed." And they're like, "What the?" I mean, I was saying the same. Like, why? Why? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and he's just like, "I don't care." And then he pulls the bullet out of the gun, and I was just like, "What? Why? What are you doing?"
Yeah. like defeats the whole the purpose of this whole.
It's just to raise tension because then, and they, what's cool? It's another one of those like the Die Hard Alan Rickman moments where like he knew the wall was going to come down, but they didn't tell him when. Like they could only do it one time, like where he burst through.
Okay,
they
didn't tell Busey which wall.
They didn't tell him where or like when or like they just had him do the scene, and they didn't tell him when because so the reaction that he has is like, whoa, shit. And he hadn't seen the werewolf yet. Oh yeah, that's right. He hadn't had any scenes. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, it's a cool thing that he I think it was a lot of his idea, but and that whole scene, and I mean when it's like fucking everybody up, it was like, and I liked that. I mean, even it does happen in this movie too. In this scene, it happens a lot where one of my gripes with werewolf movies in particular is when they throw people around. It's like a werewolf would
has claws and teeth
Yeah.
for a reason. And up until this scene, I mean, yeah, he uses, it's kind of weird though. He uses a bat, like but he claws the shit out of that woman, chops the head off. He's very multifaceted, but in this scene, he's throwing him around and that always rubs me the wrong way, but it works for what it is. It works in the scene.
We always talk about that with werewolves. Like where does the werewolf stop and the guy, you know what I mean? How much?
I feel like this werewolf is a lot of the Reverend. Like the Reverend has a lot of control in this, I think.
I agree. I think he gets more comfortable with it as it goes, you know,
because
he's probably like a bloodlust that he has, and he gets more comfortable with it.
He does stuff. He rips the cords out for the electricity. Like he's not just a feral animal.
Yeah.
He's thinking, and he's able to think. So then the bullet, like you said, he pulls it out of the gun, so it falls down a vent. Corey Haim's the only one who can like reach it while Gary Busey's like fighting him off, which is a pretty good. What they gave Busey to do, it works. Like at one point, Busey picks up like the fire poker, and he's like coming at him, and then finally they put the bullet in the gun and just blows him away in the other eye. The final, obviously they did it before Scream, but the final jump scare of the Reverend, you know, like he's dead, and then he like pops up. He's like, oh, like fuck. I remember seeing that for the first time as a kid and just being like, what? Like it scared the shit. Like no. Like my brain hadn't comprehended yet that you could do that in a movie. You know, it was always like the bad guy's dead, the movie's over and you move on. But it's like, this scared the shit out of me because it was the first time I saw one of those like fake outs basically. Yeah. And the way he looks, like when he pops up, you know, he's fully human at this point, but he just looks creepy as fuck.
He's white, he's all veiny, he's missing both his eyes, like you know.
This movie is one of the first werewolf movies that puts almost zero effort or focus into the transformation of a werewolf.
The transformation back to human was kind of neat.
What they showed was cool, but you think about like Fright Night with Evil or like Eddie Quist, Picardo.
Yeah. Well, you know what though?
London.
A lot of those movies, the big thing is like, why would you stand like all these things you know, and maybe there's a benefit to like not doing that, you know,
sure,
because then you're not like, why are you standing there watching this happen, you know?
But granted, this is a transformation backwards, so the characters can stand there. It's interesting because any werewolf movie, usually the centerpiece of the effects is to show the transformation, and this movie does not do that. It doesn't like be like, all right, here we go, everybody watch this transformation.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably too because the other ones, you know who it is the whole time, and this one it was a really cool thing to one thing that I wanted to talk about that I forgot to mention earlier is Andy, the town, like, you know, he's all fired up. He's the Anthony Michael Hall of this movie.
Oh yeah.
Halloween Kills.
Pumpkin pies tonight.
Where he's just like, you know, the sheriff's a fucking idiot. We're gonna go out and we're gonna kick ass. I went back and forth because he's got these dad jokes throughout the movie, like where he's just like he's talking shit to the deputy, and he's like, you guys are about as effective as a screen door on a submarine, and like. Or like, hey, we're gonna catch him because you couldn't catch a cold, and like all these like, are you serious? But then again, I remembered it's 1976. Maybe those were like zingers in 19. You know what I mean? Like they had to start sometime.
Sure.
You know,
even
when I was a kid, Screen Door and Submarine was funny.
Yeah, I think that's still an awesome joke because it's a joke that nowadays, especially even for 85, it works. But nowadays, it's all about who's quippier and who's wittier. That's just a simple, good, old-fashioned joke, you know?
I dare you to get in an argument with somebody on Twitter and drop that. Be like, yeah, well, you probably think we need screen doors on a submarine.
Yeah, I absolutely will. I'm going to do that. That's going to be my goal this week.
Be like,
is to use that joke. They're going to be like, what? Like, so, you know me and my 80s freeze frame endings. I love it. Even though
it's a great one, man.
It's a great ending, you know, the two of them hugging and then it freeze frames on them. Planes, Trains, Automobiles.
It reminds me, it's a Die Hard ending. It's what you know what I mean? Like, bad guy's dead, movie over.
And then credits as with the freeze. I love it.
Like no epilogue. No.
But it is weird. You do get the narration again, you know?
Yeah.
Where she's like, nobody will ever forget that summer, whatever.
Yeah,
I love you, Marty. It's like, what?
What a weird that narration.
It almost,
I don't know.
I think it would have worked better. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but I think it would have worked better if at the end, because she's obviously older telling this story.
Yeah.
That we saw them older. I think the narration would have worked better if it was the actress who actually played the sister.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
that.
Seemingly it's only 9 years after the event. Like if you're seeing it in 85 and it takes place in 76, it's really not that much time has passed.
It is an interesting setup though, the way
it reminded me of Blade Runner though. Like, have you ever seen the Blade Runner cut with the dialogue?
Yeah.
Or with the narration where he's just like, when he finds the origami and then like Harrison Ford, his narration is just like, he left the origami for me because of this. Like, it's like, thanks Harrison Ford, thanks narration.
Those movies, I love Blade Runner. All both of them. It's so confusing how many cuts there are. I have no idea which one's the right one or the real one.
That's the original theatrical cut because the studio made them do it. Like Ridley Scott didn't want that.
The theatrical cut has the voiceover.
Yeah.
Okay. Director's cut does not.
Director's cut does not. None of the directors. There's like 4 director's cuts.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
Yeah, which is a pain. That it took me a long time to watch Blade Runner because of that.
Really?
You know, because I'm like, well, I want to watch the right one. You know, and
yeah, totally.
But I wound up just I saw it in the theaters. It was playing at the local theater, and they were playing the original cut. So that's cool. The first one I saw.
Yeah. You got anything else on this one?
No, man, I love this movie. I'm
really glad.
I'm gonna watch this one. I can't believe like I would have liked this at any point in my. I think this movie kicked ass.
That's awesome.
Like I can't believe I never heard of this one.
Yeah,
you know,
that's very strange. Silver Bullet, like especially for someone in the horror realm, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these movies I think wind up living on like HBO or whatever. Like that's where you see them. Maybe it just wasn't there. It was a good movie.
It does. There is a part of it that has like a made for TV vibe to it at points, but it's obviously not because of how graphic it is and the rating and then the cast too. So sometimes, I don't know, when I was watching it, this time around, I was like, I guess it makes sense kind of that Kevin had never heard of this, but that's dope. All right. Silver Bullet, man. I'm glad you got to see it. Now you have the letter T.
Yeah, there's quite a few options with T.
Yeah. There's one in particular that if it were me, I know what I would have picked. Where you got?
For me, it's between 2 movies.
Okay.
That I like them both. It's been a while since I saw one of them.
Before you say them, was there anything that you hadn't seen that you were like, oh, what's this?
No, I've seen all 4 of there were no T's where I was like, ooh,
yeah,
what is that?
Okay.
But I think I'm gonna go Toxic Avenger. It's either Toxic Avenger or They Live.
Okay.
And I was thinking about The Thing. I don't know. I'm just not in a Thing mood. It's gonna be one of those 2.
The Thing. That's another one, man. That like, what do you say about it? I mean, there's a lot we could say about it.
I mean, it's awesome, but everybody knows it's awesome. You know, that's kind of why I didn't pick Reanimator with R. It's like, even though I probably will next time, but yeah, They Live or Toxic Avenger. I don't feel like Toxic Avenger gets enough love. They're doing a remake right now. You know who's in the remake? Starring Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger. Yeah, or at least as the pre-Toxic Avenger. I don't know for sure, but it's starring him. You've seen Toxic Avenger, right? So I'm guessing that's what he's playing. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not. And even though I don't know how involved Trauma is, like obviously they've given. It's a major movie, so I think they've probably just given the rights to some studio. Yeah. Like there's no way it's gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like there's no way. I have no idea. I really like the original Toxic Avenger. It's bananas and it's Trauma at its best. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, Toxic Avenger. Yeah, let's do Toxic Avenger. It'll be bizarre to talk about. I haven't seen it in a while, and I've been looking for an excuse to revisit it. In fact, when they launched the Trauma app, I think I watched 10 minutes of it, and I was like, it's another one of those movies where like I gotta wait till like Lynn's asleep, or you know what I mean? Like, yeah, totally. You gotta some explaining to do. How many sequels did they make to this? There's 4 of them, I think. There's 4 Toxic Avengers. I've never seen any of those. I want to say I saw parts of the 4th one, but I don't know. It's been a long time. And then, of course, the cartoon, which is maybe we should do that for Patreon. We could do that.
So yeah, we could
The
do
Toxic
that.
Crusaders.
Why don't we do that? We'll do that next week.
Okay.
Yeah, remind me to do that. Cool, man. Toxic Avenger. What year was that?
84. It's 84.
Awesome, man. All right. So for next week, Toxic Avenger, letter T. We got anything else? Am I missing anything?
Nope.
All right. Thank you all for listening. If you want to find us on social media, you can find us Instagram and Twitter and YouTube at Death by Podcast. If you want to help out the show directly and toss in a shilling, you can hit us up on Patreon, join that community, patreon.com/Death by Podcast, where you will find our bonus mini podcast that we've mentioned a few times in this episode, BoobTube TV, where we talk about a horror related TV show. It's an awesome community, lots of behind the scenes, all kinds of stuff. We take patron questions and from there and do polls and all kinds of stuff. So join us there, patreon.com/Death by Podcast. I think that's about it. Silver Bullet, awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It is available on, what did I watch it on? I think I watched it on Tubi. It's free somewhere. Just check it out.
Check out the Blu-ray. I've got mine coming, but they packed it with some good stuff.
Awesome. What year did that Blu-ray come out? You know?
It's either 2019 or 2017. 2019.
Okay, so it's recent. That's cool.
It's a Scream Factory.
Awesome. They do good stuff. All
Kick-ass
right.
cover too. Did a badass cover.
Cool. Thank you for listening, folks. I'm your host, Adam. That is your other host, Kevin. Kevin, you want to say your name?
No, you got it.
I don't know why I said it. I think it's
okay.
like too many cough drops.
No, it's all good.
It's Miller time. Kevin. That was good. I feel like he paused in there. There was like an extra pause where he's like, shut the fuck up.
Same one.
It worked. Thank you, folks. We will see you next week. Don't get bit by a werewolf.